There are a lot of suspicious things that continue to crop up around this new film that just came out this past weekend called The Woman King, a film that its starring lead, Viola Davis, says that if you don't go support, you are a terrible person, and in fact, yes, a racist. We know exactly how this continues to go. This is something that she said just last week. Viola Davis says the audiences who don't see The Woman King are supporting the narrative that black women cannot lead the box office globally, which no one is saying that except for you and your Hollywood overlords who are telling you this narrative. So it's very, very silly. But then she went on to say this just a couple days ago as well. Like I said, if you don't plop down money on opening weekend, you're not going to see black females leading a movie again. Again, everyone, this will never ever happen ever again in the history of the world if you don't go see this movie, The Woman King, a revisionist history movie. There's a lot of strange things happening with everything from the Rotten Tomatoes scores. As you can see here, it continues to just be one thing after another, where pretty much all of the reviews are these 5-star reviews from the verified audiences. It's very interesting that now they have this verified audience thing where basically it's very easy for them to manipulate things if they wanted to, but you have all these verified audience scores that are basically just one-line things that are very similar. Action-packed, believable characters, a must-see, exclamation point, 5 stars. Amazing movie, a must-see, exclamation point, 5 stars. And it goes on and on and on. As you can see, this is just something that we continue to see. It's just like all the reviews are very much this way, which is very, very strange. And there's a lot of people that are basically saying, yeah, it definitely is very suspicious. If you go look at everywhere across the internet, there are people that are like, yeah, there's something that doesn't seem right about this. But currently sits at 99% on Rotten Tomatoes from audiences, which doesn't make any sense whatsoever. The writer for this show for this movie is definitely an interesting person, to put it lightly. So if you go and look at her like on Twitter, she has all these crazy posts about how terrible white men are and everything else. My old white man relatives are still saying this to me. That's not gonna happen. Old white men grimacing and yelling like Brett Kavanaugh. These white conservative bitches. And then she just goes on and on and on. That's all that she's just like completely losing her mind all the time about this. Old white men. Defy them and fight them. Sounds like a little bit of a call to questionable activities there from the writer of this movie. Call it a woke civil war. The Viola Davis star vehicle The Woman King has topped the North American box office on its debut weekend, even as online activists called for a boycott over the film's blatant whitewashing of an African tribe's participation in the transatlantic slave trade. But, all of that aside, it somehow still got a perfect score. Like I said, this doesn't make any sense whatsoever, okay? This is a score that you, never see. Some of the greatest movies we've ever had don't have scores like this. I bet you if you look at The Godfather, I bet you doesn't have a score like this. Let me look it up real quick, actually. Let's look up The Godfather Part 2 here and see what the score is. 97% for The Godfather Part 2. The Godfather Part 2 doesn't even have a 99% from audiences. Yet somehow this Woman King film does. Literally makes no sense whatsoever. But anyway, critics have awarded The Woman King with 94% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, hailing its fresh female perspective and its timely message of women empowerment to own their own bodies. And with a $19 million gross, the film ranked #1 at the box office and earned an A+ cinema score from viewers, which literally means nothing in a weekend where literally nothing else came out. It doesn't mean anything at all. So, woke social media users, however, brutally trashed the film for overlooking the fact that the Dahomey tribe it glorifies had a dubious history of selling slaves to Europeans, promoting the hashtag boycott Woman King. Even the far left Slate had to call the makers out on it. The Dahomey had fierce female fighters. They also sold people overseas, which is true. But that doesn't matter. all that matters is the narrative, and this is exactly what Hollywood continues to do. They take stories that we love, they take history now, freaking history, and they are reinterpreting it and hijacking it so that they can tell it in the new woke narrative that they want to push out there. They're doing it with history. Well, we've seen this happening with history for a while with critical race theory and everything else, but it's happening with history. It's happening with stories that we love, like Lord of the Rings and Star Wars and everything else. This is the game that Hollywood is playing. And it's a very malicious and sinister game that they are playing. As historian Robert Law notes, Dahomey emerged as a key player in the trafficking of West Africans between the 1680s and early 1700s. And it goes on and on and on, talking about how basically it was eradicated by the British. But the Dahomey warriors, and there's a lot of people on Twitter that are not happy about this. People from across the board, woke people, conservatives, whatever else, everyone is not happy with this movie. Yet somehow this movie has a 99% on Rotten Tomatoes. Very weird. The Dahomey warriors were not just slave traders. They would take all the young, healthy people, murder the elderly and disabled, and burn down everything left in the village. So this is something that this is funny. Let's be honest, folks. It's a movie about an African tribe famous for selling slaves to Europeans that was made into a female empowerment story by two white women writers. You don't have to be very woke to see the problem here, and these are the writers right here. So there's a lot of problems with this, and there's a lot of suspicious things that are continuing to happen with this film. But let me know what you think about all this in comments below. Leave a like, subscribe, and I'll talk to you all in another video very soon.